Happy day everyone, this is a new chapter from the class 11 of NCERT. We are going to start with anatomy of flowering plants, which is of the week 6 self-study timetable for the NEET 2024 aspirants. Let's start into the video. Okay, so first of all, what is anatomy? Anatomy is the study of internal structure. In the previous video, we have discussed about morphology of flowering plants, which means external structure. But in this chapter, we will be dealing with the internal structure of the plants. So first of all, what is tissue? Tissues are formed by the cells which are having a common origin and function that I have mentioned as COAF. So the group of cells which are having the common origin and function will be forming the tissue. Based on that, we have two types of tissue in the plant, which is meristematic and permanent. So whether the tissue is able to divide further or not, based on that it is of meristematic or permanent. Meristematic tissues are one which are capable of dividing. Permanent tissue cannot divide further. So what is the meaning of meristem? Meristem means the regions of active cells for division. Okay, as I said earlier, they will have the capability to divide further, and in Greek meristos means divide. So to talk about the next topic, starting with the meristematic tissue, the meristematic tissues are divided into two types, which is primary meristem and secondary meristem. In the primary meristem, we have two types of meristems, which is apical and intercalary, and secondary is also called as lateral one. And to talk about the apical meristem, they occurs at the tips of roots and shoot. Okay, this is called as ram and sam, which is root apical meristem and shoot apical meristem. They occurs at the tip and they produce the primary tissue. Talking about the intercalary meristem, they will be forming between the mature tissues and they have the capacity to regeneration. For example, as in grass, when the parts of grass are removed by the grazing herbivores, it will regenerate again. Okay, and talking about the lateral meristem, these are seen in the mature regions of root and shoot. In case of apical meristem, these are seen in the tips, but in the lateral meristem, these are seen in the mature regions of root and shoot. And mainly to point out, it will be seen in the woody axis, and they are all cylindrical. And for example, the lateral meristem consists of cork cambium, interfascicular cambium, and they produce secondary tissues. Okay, these are about meristematic tissue. They have two types, primary and secondary. Within that, we have apical and intercalary and lateral meristem. Then permanent tissue. So the permanent tissue means they cannot further divide. Okay, so these cells are become structurally and functionally specialized due to the activities of this meristematic tissue. Each cells will become structurally and functionally specialized, and they will be losing the ability to divide further. So these cells are called as permanent and mature cells. These together will be forming the permanent tissue. And in the primary plant body, the apical meristem will be producing the dermal tissue, ground and vascular tissue. These dermal tissues are used for production, and vascular tissues are, xylem and phloem, which are helpful in conduction of water and food materials. The permanent tissue is further divided into two types, which is simple and complex. Simples mean they are made up of the same type of cell, and complex tissues are made up of different type of cells. So the first simple tissue will be parenchyma, the second will be collenchyma, third will be sclerenchyma. Okay, as I said, simple tissues are formed of only one type of cell. So let's discuss about parenchyma. These are the major components within the organ. If you take any organ, the parenchyma is of the major quantity, and these are isodiametric, which means their diameter will be same all over the place, and this shape may be varied to oval, spherical, round, polygonal, etc. And their walls are usually thin, and it is made up of cellulose. And talking about the space, they may be closely packed without any space, or sometimes they might have small intercellular spaces. And the functions are, they are involved in photosynthesis, storage, and also secretion. And talking about the second type, which is a collenchyma, these are seen in the region below the epidermis in dicot. Okay, in dicot these are seen in the below epidermis layer, and they may be either homogeneous, that is same layer, or sometimes they occurs in patches also. These cells have a thickened corners. Their corners will be very thick due to the deposition of cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin. In case of parenchyma it is only cellulose, but collenchyma have cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin. These also have different shapes such as oval, spherical and polygonal. And talking about the chloroplast, if they contain chloroplast, they will be assimilate the food. Okay, this is not mandatorily it will be having chloroplast, but if they contain, they will be assimilate food. And there is no intercellular space. In case of parenchyma, we saw sometimes it has small intercellular space, but here there are no intercellular spaces. And this the function of this collenchyma will be providing mechanical support to the young stem or parts of the plant, such as young stem and petiole of leaf. So to talk about the sclerenchyma, the function of sclerenchyma is the mechanical support. They are generally long, narrow and also thick, and they are of lignified walls, and they are dead. Okay, and they have numerous pits also. They are dead and without protoplasm. And variation in structure, origin and development divide the sclerenchyma into further two types, which are fibers and scleroids. These fibers are generally thick-walled, elongated and pointed, but scleroids are oval. Okay, these fibers will be occurring in group. And talking about the scleroids, they may be spherical, oval and cylindrical, and they also have thickened dead cells which are called as lumen. Lumen is nothing but a central cavity, and the scleroids are found in fruit walls and nuts, leaves of tea and pulp of guava, pear and sapota, and also seed coats of legume. So we talked about the introduction of anatomy of flowering plants and the division of tissues, and in the further video we will start with the complex tissue.